work on the Ariana Boxy Pouch by Ginny C. And I'm going to do all 4 sizes in the same color scheme. To make it as a set, I might as well just film what I'm doing. So I've already printed the pattern pieces, all of the pattern pieces, and cut them out. But what I did differently is I did not cut all of my pieces using the templates on the fold. What I did was I actually made my own pattern pieces where rather than the template being on the fold, I got a big piece of paper, folded it in half, traced the half portion, cut it out, and then you open and you have a full piece. So that's how I made all of my templates. The other thing that I did differently is the interfacing for the exterior, the top and bottom pieces. I did not interface these pieces yet. This is going to be my top, and this is going to be my bottom. I did not interface these yet. I just find it easier to have a full piece of interfacing once these two are connected. So all I did was, this is going to be my lining, was interface my lining for now. And I actually used the full body stabilizer piece, the template, which you can use foam or fleece for. I used the same template to cut the interfacing, the SF101, only to avoid any bulk in the seams, which the seam allowance in this pattern is 1/4 inch, and that'll just save my machine some hassle and trouble when it comes to these edges. So what I'm going to do now is go through the different pieces and just show you. All of these are my top pieces in all 4 sizes. These are all my bottom pieces in all 4 sizes, and these are all my lining pieces in the 4 sizes. These are all the little zipper tabs for all 4 of them, since they're all the same size. And these are all my side tabs, and it's the same size for all of them. So these have already been interfaced, and these have already been interfaced. So when I come back, I'm going to have my exterior pieces sewn together. So since this is my bottom, I'm going to move some of this so it's a little bit clearer. So my lining is all done. It's interfaced. And these are my tops. So here's my espresso top, and here's my espresso bottom. These will get sewn here with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and you're going to repeat the same thing for every single size. Now I have mine set up where I go from the espresso, then I go into the midi, then the grande, and then the alto. So I basically just pull the pieces together, and I do it sort of in an assembly line. So that's why I'm going to do all 4 at the same time. So I'm going to get all of these done. Once I stitch them all at a 1/4 inch, this will open, and you're basically going to have something like this. Okay, and you'll turn this around, make sure you press your seam, and then you put your interfacing on here. I just find that a lot easier. It'll hold the seam down also, and once that's done, what I do is I flip it back over, and then I do my top stitching, just to give the top stitching a little stiffness to hold on to after the interfacing. So I'll have all of that done, and then when I come back, we'll move on. And I think I am going to stick to just 1 row on these this time. I think it's just a subtle look. So those are all ready, and these side pieces are also all ready. I've top stitched both sides. Now I didn't fold them in half and baste this end yet. If you want to baste it, go ahead and then just have it ready. I usually just tuck this in when I'm ready to sew and just save a step. But that's totally up to what you feel comfortable with. Now, the other thing is prepping the zipper. Now, I've pulled out the zippers for all four, and what I'm doing is I'm alternating colors. I'm going to do 2 in the light pink and 2 in the dark pink. Just decide on which one you're doing in which color, because each of them gets cut to a different size. And what I'm doing right now is I'm going to show you how to do one of them. You need to follow the instructions on how long your zipper tape needs to be. I like using longer zippers than what is called for and be able to cut off everything that's excess. Now, this one is for one of the pieces, for example, and it's supposed to be 8.5 inches. So the first thing I do is I cut the metal stop at the end, not the front. I cut this one off, and then I use that to line up on my grid, on my cutting mat, and measure all the way over 8.5. But before you cut this side, you need to make sure you pull your zipper pull open. It's got to be before where you're going to make your cut. Do not forget your zipper stopper, your zipper pull on the other end of the cut. You can get it back on there, but it is a little difficult to do unless you're experienced in doing it. So just remember to open the zipper pull before you make that cut on the front. Now you're going to take your squares, and what you're doing is you're basically going to do a sandwich. So you're going to put one square right side up. You're going to put the zipper meet at the edge, also zipper teeth up, and then you're going to take another square right side down. So your fabric pieces are going to be right sides together, and then you go ahead and clip that so it's ready to sew. Other side, I do the same thing. Now the pattern calls for you to kind of stitch over here so that doesn't move. Again, I just like to work a little bit faster, so I hold it with my fingers, make my sandwich, make sure the zipper does not open on this end. As you do this, you want the teeth touching, and then I use another clip. So this is what all my zippers look like. So you're going to stitch these down and come back, and when I come back, they're actually going to get attached to my pieces. That's the next step. So let me show you this one. So these are your two pieces. This is the one that measures for this piece. You're going to attach the zipper. You need your lining pieces, and let's see, grab these two, the matching lining pieces. So you're going to put your lining piece right side up, and you're going to make sure that the narrow side is at the top. So that's this part. Oh, oops, I've got it the wrong way. Yeah. No, this is correct. So this is the smaller part. This part is going to be at the top. And what you're going to do is, remember, this has to be stitched. And actually, I'll do that right now. So these will be stitched and pulled back this way. And I'll finish the rest later, but that's the idea. So you're going to press this, and if you like, you can top stitch over here, and you're going to take the zipper and you're going to place it along the edge up here. Okay? And I actually have this the wrong way. The directions say to have the zipper pull facing up. Yeah, it should be right side up and over to the right. Okay, so you can pin this, pin it in place, and then baste it down using an 1/8 inch seam allowance. If you use glue, you don't need to. Usually when I use glue, I'll iron the edge down just to make sure the glue is basted on there. If really I want to save extra time, I don't even bother doing that. What I do is I take the second piece of lining, put it over here, and just clip across and stitch it once. So what I would do is I take the second piece face down, and I'm not removing this yet because I didn't finish stitching. So I would take the second piece, and this depends on your comfort, how comfortable you are doing this. And you would clip all the way across, and then you'd go ahead and you're going to do your 1/4 inch seam using your zipper foot. So you're going to do that for all of your pieces, and then we'll come back and move on to the next step. The other thing is, when you cut your zippers down to size as to what the pattern calls for, hang on to whatever you have left. I'm going to show you a little something that you can use these for. So if they're long enough, don't throw them out. Just hold on to them for now. And you'll have an option of something else to do, and you can decide later. So I'll see you when all that stuff is done. Okay, I think I made a boo-boo in something I said earlier before I attached the zippers. Since I'm shooting this video as I go, I want to make sure if I did say the wrong thing, I fixed my error. What you're doing is, once these zipper tabs are top stitched, you're going to line them up to the top of the lining piece. So lining is right side up, teeth of the zipper are up, and then you're putting down your exterior panel face down, right side down. I think earlier I said you put another lining piece, but that's not what you're putting down. You're going to put lining up, zipper teeth up with the pull to the right, and then you put your exterior face down and you clip. As you see, I already did these two. You clip and you're going to stitch 1/4 inch, and that will give you one side of your pouch finished. So I'm going to get all that done and then come back. The one lining and one exterior. You're going to do the same to the other side. Now I already started this one, so you're going to lay your second piece of lining right side up, and then you're going to take the entire panel that you just finished, so it's exterior, zipper, and lining is now one piece, and you're going to line the edge of the zipper to the edge of your second lining piece. Now I do this one at a time just to kind of hold this together, and then you're going to bring in your second exterior piece and you're going to put that face down. You're going to make sure to line up the raw edges at the top, and clip this together. And again, with your zipper foot, 1/4 inch seam across the top. Now I did not top stitch yet. I leave my top stitching for all of the pieces once I'm done with both sides. So do this, attach both ends to the zipper. And I keep clips on here just to keep one side out of the way while I work on the other. Finish this up for whatever sizes you're doing, and then in the end you could just chain piece the top stitching for all of them. After attaching the zipper tab, the zipper to the exterior and the lining, so this is all put together now. This is the point where I always keep my zippers open, and we've reached the part where we're going to attach these side tabs that are called for in the pattern. Now remember, I had mentioned to keep all the extra pieces from the zippers, and I'm going to show you what I did. So I'm going to remove this side tab because this is not what I'm going to use for this bag. I actually use the remainder of the zipper piece that matches, that I cut off from that zipper. And what happens is this. So this becomes my side tab. Now I've already finished 2. See my side tabs? It's just coordinating with the zipper. I thought it was a lot nicer than taking the coordinating fabric to the bottom and bringing it up here. I just thought it was too much for the pattern in the fabrics that I have, so I figured solid was a little bit nicer for this one. So that is also an option that you have. So to continue on from after the top stitching, what you're going to do is you're going to add your side tabs, whether it be the ones called for in the pattern. You just place them down and baste them. If you decide to do what I did and use your zipper leftovers, all you're doing is you're basically sort of folding them like a ribbon. And what I do is I hand stitch the 2 pieces together at the very bottom with a needle and thread, and then I just turn it face down and baste it onto my entire piece. So if you notice on here, I hand stitched it in blue so you guys can see it, and then I basted it onto my panels so it's ready for sewing. Once these pieces are down, once you have your 2 side tabs down, what you're going to do is you're going to bring your 2 exterior panels right sides together, and then 2 lining panels together. And you're going to pin these together matching. What you're also going to do is, you see marks on mine, the exterior panels right sides together are going to be done in 1/4 inch seam allowance on the 3 sides. Just follow the instructions in the pattern. On the lining piece, if you're the type to rush through a pattern and think, oh, it's going to be the same, be careful, because you're going from 1/4 to 1/2. What I did on all 4 of mine, since I'm doing all 4, is I marked everything all at one time. I drew my lines, and the bottom of the lining is 1/2, not 1/4, and I did the same on this end. So by drawing the lines for myself on everything, I know exactly where I'm going to stitch. I use the lines as my guide. Now the blue portion here, I just do this for myself so that, because I've done it before, I don't stitch through the entire lining, so I actually have a birthing hole for putting my hand in there to pull this out. So once you've stitched all 3 sides of the lining, all 3 sides of your exterior, it becomes time to box your bag. Now I have my next one already kind of done, sewn on the 2 sides, and I've clipped where I need to box. Okay, this is my exterior and this is my lining. So on one, it's facing this way. This is my exterior, right sides together, so that's here. And this is my lining, right sides together, which is on this side. And I've sewn the edges, and then I started boxing. So what you're doing with the boxes, very simple. Here's my lining portion. You're going to press the seams open with your fingers, and I just find this a lot easier than kind of doing the fold this to one side, fold this to the opposite, and let them nest. I don't know why, I just find it a little bit more difficult, so I like to just open everything, and I believe the pattern actually tells you to do it this way. So you're going to clip, and what I do is, I know that the pattern tells you to do each part separately, but I like sewing around the whole thing first, then clipping every portion that I need for all the boxes and just get that done. It just saves me time, and I work a lot faster. So you're going to do this for all 4 corners. That's 2 corners of the lining. And remember, you're going to already have a birthing hole in here. And you're going to do the same for the 2 corners in your exterior panel. Okay, then we have the top of the bag. So while the bag is like this, these corners up here are actually in the center while the bag is inside out. So what you're doing here, and I'm going to pull one apart. Okay. Okay, so here's my zipper tab, and you can see my little zipper side tab. It's in there. And what you're doing is basically what you did to the outside corners, is you're bringing this down. And I like opening this again because remember, this part is going to be a lot thicker than the outside corners. And then you're going to bring this in and open this seam. Just clip. And you're going to stitch that down according to the pattern. So once all 6 box edges are done, boxed corners are done, you're ready to go. Make sure you had left your zipper open, get your hand in there, and you birth the bag. And once you do that, the only thing left is, so voila, magic of TV, it's done. Once you birth the bag, the only thing left is to stitch the inside of the lining. Now you can hand stitch this. I don't like hand stitching, so I'm just waiting to do these 2 on the inside once I finish my last 2, which I was using as steps to show you right now, to change the thread in my machine, and then I'll stitch all 4 in a coordinating thread so it's not that obvious. And then it gets tucked in. You zip it up, and then you have a set of 4 bags. Well, I hope this video helped someone. It was my first video on sewing anything, only because I was sitting here doing all 4 sizes. So let me know if there's any questions, and I'm glad I could help if it benefited any of you. Thanks.